Welcome back to the big room. It's our first actual episode of 2025.
Of 2025. Ever. Our first episode ever.
Actually, this is our 100th episode, but it's our 99th episode because we started with 0. And strictly speaking,
It's true.
it's our 101st because we lost Tombstone.
Yep.
But we'll save the confetti that we definitely won't have for next week when it's actually episode number.
You don't know. Maybe
100.
I will have confetti.
Oh,
Maybe you will. And if you want to go back and
Next
listen
week's
to,
100.
if you want to go back and listen to episode 0, I highly advise you don't do that because I listened to a couple minutes of it the other day. Wow.
Should
Just
we
go
hide
listen.
it?
No.
Go
No?
listen to a couple minutes and then come back in like 10 minutes to
And we
appreciate
will
how much better
sound
we are now.
Like better than the Joe Rogan experience.
yeah.
Also because
Well,
we're
that's a
not
low
on like
bar.
a lot of steroids and we're not incredibly stupid. Now, we're doing something a little different for the next 4 weeks. We're going to do, including this one, so the next 3 weeks. Who cares? We're going to do, so last year, we all brought our favorite movies for January. And we watched Smokey and the Bandit and then some other drivel. And this year, I didn't like anyone else's.
No, you didn't. And none of us, nobody did.
Everybody liked mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rub it in.
We're going to do a similar thing this year, but with shows. And by shows, I mean we're not going to watch an entire show. We are going to, the goal of this is kind of to step into one another's world with an episode or so. Maybe Carl wants 3. We might give him 3 of our favorite show. It's up to our own discretion. Mm-hmm. I'm going first because I nailed it with Smokey and the Bandit, and I won a prize, and it was picking first this time. Imagine if that's how it actually worked.
I like that.
I'm going to win again.
I don't know about that.
This year, or for this episode, the show that I have picked is a show that I have been impossibly obsessed with for going on 12 years. I think this will be year 12. And it is the, what is referred to, it's referred now as Top Gear Classic. Because there was old Top Gear in like the 70s, 80s, 90s. And then there was Top Gear Classic with Jeremy, Richard, and James. The trio that took over the world. It was like the most watched show in the world at its prime. Like it was in like 170 countries watched Top Gear. It was insane. And then they like left and some terrible people tried to do it a bunch of times. And now it's canceled because somebody almost died in a car crash. That's true. So Top Gear's been tabled for the 3rd time in its existence. So my introduction to the show was in about 2013. And I was not a car person. I had no interest in cars at all. My brother was a car person, and if we're being frank, I found it kind of annoying because it's kind of hard being in a car with a teenager. And I know I do this now, and I apologize, but every car that goes by, he was like, oh, like whatever.
Yeah, that's my life now.
And now I'm like, we were parked in a Publix parking lot, and we saw what was it?
Ferrari
I forget
something.
what Ferrari it was.
It was
and I
red.
Was like, and we had to walk and
It
go
was
look
red.
at it because it's like that's a $500,000 car just sitting in the parking lot of Ale House. It was neat.
Oolhoos.
So my introduction was through. So I bought a video game called Forza 5, which was the first mainline Forza title on the Xbox One, which had just come out in 2013. And the Top Gear trio did like some VO for like an intro to the game or whatever. Like, this is cars and blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And they had the Top Gear test track in the game, which is tattooed on my arm now.
Nice.
Which was cool. So I got to, drive the course and it was all neat. And my friend Shannon Devon was really into Top Gear. So him and I were hanging out a bit at the time. We were all at Connect. This is around the time I met Nickel.
Aw, Nick.
And what I liked about it too is I wanted to watch something. I had just tried Breaking Bad at your request. I just tried Breaking Bad. I watched
At my request?
Yeah. You were like, I love Breaking Bad. So I tried it and I didn't like it because it was just
Does sound like me.
It was just too like, is it the very first episode with the bathtub thing or is that the second?
That's the first.
Early.
That's the first.
That's the first episode? Okay, so I watched that and I went gross and I never watched it again.
Cats in the Bag is the name of that episode.
But I don't like tense drama.
That was the first episode. I thought that was like a few in.
It might be. I feel like I watched at least 2.
Cats in the Bag, and then episode 2 is Bags in the River.
Ooh,
So I don't
a bag of
think
cats in the river?
Maybe.
The last episode I watched, Bathtub.
We'll
fell
find
through
out
the-
next week.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Well, all I know is the last thing I watched, a dude fell through the ceiling, and they were like, "You used the wrong kind of acid," and I was like, "This show's gross," and I turned it off and never watched it.
Imagine I made you watch that specific episode.
And I'm
Karen's
like,
favorite episode.
it comes on, I start vomiting. No, I wanted to watch a show that wasn't a show. You know what I mean?
Not a drama.
Yeah.
Not like
Break
a
that down
plot.
for us.
I think I had recently gone through like through MythBusters, and I wanted something like that. So like a non-drama, non-scripted. I mean, Top Gear is scripted, obviously, and something with a long back catalog, so I could watch it for some time. And like everything, Danielle's not like this. We're actually watching the Long Way series, Long Way
Long way up.
round, down, and then up.
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor and
Yes.
Charlie Borman.
Yeah.
So
we
good.
just started. She's seen it before. Long Way Up again tonight. But you started with Long Way Up,
I did.
so she likes to start with the newest thing.
Well,
I can't do that.
At the time, it looked, the production, like the image screenshot preview you got, the Long Way Round one looked so old and like blurry that
And
I
it was like 2005.
"Ugh."
It was old.
So I was like, this one was filmed in 2020. It looks way better, you know?
So she started with
So I
Long
was like,
Way.
I'll just start. It was, I think I started it in like 2021 too. Like
Right.
it was pandemic. So I was like, this just came out.
But I'm the opposite. So I started just right at episode 1 of season 2 of Top Gear, and it was season 2 because that's the first season with James May. And at the time, all of Top Gear was on either Netflix or Hulu. I know it was on one of those two, and then they took it off and put it on the other one. And then I switched subscriptions. I still like lived at home, didn't have a lot of money. I didn't even work at Auto Customs yet. And
GameStop days.
it was GameStop days.
Oh,
and then
man.
eventually, like in fear of it getting moved again, I started just buying seasons. So I have all the seasons like on Google TV or whatever. So yes, I started in 2013 with season 2, which is the 2002 season. The second 2002 season, season 1, also took place in 2002, and then James Daw was the third presenter, and the BBC was like, get rid of this guy, and then they brought James May back, and he was on Top Gear in the 90s, and got let go as well. So it's all crazy. The Top Gear history is just so convoluted. So I mentioned before I was not interested in cars at all, which is kind of weird to get into a car show. So I kind of
Yeah.
got into cars through Top Gear, which is what like a lot of like the British YouTubers that I watch now also got into cars through Top Gear, but when they were like 7, and I did it as a 20 whatever, however old I was, 18-year-old. So I think I was driving. I had my first car back then, which was a 1994 maroon Nissan Altima, which was awesome. I named that car Don Knotts for some reason. And then actually I have the car I have now, my 14 Focus, because of Top Gear. They like loved the Focus for generations, right? Like in England. And I wanted something like vaguely European without being expensive. So I bought a hatchback because we don't buy those here. I love my hatchback. It's a piece of shit, but I love it. So we watched one episode. We didn't watch anything crazy. We didn't like watch a whole season or whatever. And the episode that I picked was season 10, episode 7, which is the British Leyland car challenge. And I spent all of last Sunday, really all the afternoon, I spent the good 4 hours watching episodes. I had a pool of episodes in my mind. And this is the one that I thought I would pick going in. And then I watched
How many did you have to narrow it down from?
I think I had 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then I watched, I think 2 of them before this, and then I watched this one, and I went, pretty sure that's it. And then I started like a 4th one, and I went, nah, it's the BL challenge. It's so good. I think it was just, it's I consider it perhaps the best introduction. I didn't want to do a special. I think I've actually shown you a special before. We watched one of the Source of the River Nile, I think, episode where they're in Africa. And that's an incredible.
So good.
So good. And it's not even the best special. It's probably top 3, but it's not even the best special. I think if this goes well and y'all liked it, maybe in a month where we have 5 weeks or something, we'll try a special. I know exactly which one I'd pick. Vietnam, for the informed Top Gear watcher. Vietnam, 100%. I originally considered season 3, episode 3, which is the first cheap car challenge. They do cars for 100 pounds. And it's very good, but that's season 3. So the chemistry is not quite there with the 3 yet. In season 10, we are in the heart, almost tail end of primo Top Gear. Like prime stuff, which is, in my opinion, like season 5 or 6 to like 12 or 13 or so. It kind of starts to jump the shark. And then by the end of their run, like season 20, 21, 22, it really has jumped the shark. Grand Tour, shark has been jumped a long time ago. This is the best Top Gear ever was.
This episode you could definitely tell they like really gelled with each other. But like, so it's Jeremy Clarkson, James May, Richard Hammond.
Yes.
Did they have a history together? Did they meet at Top Gear? Like, what's that kind of story?
Jeremy and James had known each other. I don't know specifically if that's from having been on Top Gear in the 1990s. I think that James came on 90s Top Gear after Jeremy left. They filled James in, and then the show kind of got shelved after a while. But those two had a prior history. Richard auditioned for Top Gear in the 90s and didn't make it. He didn't make it on the show. And then he re-auditioned for the revival. They brought him on for season 1 with James Daw. It was always going to be Clarkson in the revival. It was Clarkson and the producer that was the producer from 2002 all the way through the end of the Grand Tour last year.
Oh, wow.
It was...
You're saying Clarkson worked at a different car show and then moved to this one or started his own, right?
No, he had a car column. And then he got on Top Gear with the Beeb and kind of started... Like he brought, it used to be a magazine format show. So it was all strictly reviews. You know, this car has this much trunk space and blah, blah, blah. And then y'all watched and it's him power sliding a DBS around the track and talking about how the gear knob looks like a Power Ranger's leg, which is great. And that's what Jeremy Clarkson gave old Top Gear, as he calls it, that kind of sheen. He had his crazy analogies. Like this car weighs slightly less than a small mountain. Like that kind of thing, like the weird comparisons and just his flamboyance and sarcasm and
He had an angle.
He will just bury a car if he doesn't like it. But the way that he does it, you're on his side, or at least I am. Oh, Jeremy Clarkson's a very divisive figure. I'm very pro, but
and that's probably why this is a lot of people's introduction into cars, because you stick around for Jeremy and his shenanigans.
A lot of people say that.
And then accidentally learn about cars.
Perfect
Yeah, when
word.
you are young or early into watching Top Gear, Jeremy is your instant favorite.
Yeah.
But as you mature,
Oh, I was going to ask.
it's James.
James.
James is the best.
Because he was subtler. He was the one that didn't, to me, at least in the episode we watched, have a very distinct, like, flavor, I guess. Like, and also, like, did they have comedy backgrounds, or they just,
No,
like,
they have,
just...
so this is Jeremy, I believe, had a journalist background.
Okay.
Richard was a local radio anchor. So he,
Okay, because he's got the most like kind of TV personality feel to me. Or,
Yeah.
like, he looks like he wants to be a star. So I couldn't. I was like, what is his background? Like, what do these people
James
do before
May-
they became these?
James May, this is not a joke. He's a classically trained pianist.
He kind of looks like one.
He's a pianist. So, yeah, this James is definitely the most reserved of the three. Richard
Yeah.
and Jeremy are very loud. I mean, Jeremy's very loud. James, though, his character on Top Gear is different than who he is in real life. I mean, the other two as well. Like Jeremy's a much more exaggerated version of himself, kind of Richard too. James is playing a character though. Captain Slow, you know, can't drive very quickly, and he's stuck in the 1940s.
He
and
won't
blah,
run
blah,
on
blah.
TV.
He won't run on television, and some of that's true. But he's actually one of
So
the
him
most.
taking that wrong turn, was that like a bit, or was that an actual
No,
mistake?
I don't
you
think he actually has a sense of direction. He says cock all the time. That's his
So funny.
his catchphrase is "oh cock." Like the amount of, in fact, the reason I didn't pick one of the other episodes I wanted to pick is they specifically in the news portion, which is one of my favorite parts of the show, hit so many like jokes that had been going on for over a decade at that point. I think I was going to pick an episode from season 15, which is 5 seasons after this. And I went, it's too much to, if you haven't watched, it's too much to try to grasp.
It'd be lost on us.
Right. So yeah, James is my favorite though. I'm interested in what Danielle's perspective is, because I started watching the show right before we started dating.
A couple years.
And then I was
Yeah.
in full ass swing.
Yeah.
I think I showed
Full ass
you.
swing.
Do you remember the first thing I made you watch?
Here's what I think it was. Is I remember for some reason you talked about the Chernobyl challenge.
Yeah, I think I just recently watched that one where that challenge, they buy small cars, like 3-cylinder economical cars. One of them is a Ford Fusion, which is a 3-cylinder eco engine over there, a Volkswagen Up ! And then the Dacia Sandero is what the three of them bought. And they are supposed to be like driving for hundreds of miles across the Ukraine, and it's really boring. And then because they're in such economical cars, the producers have them like 150 or so, 200 miles in cars that are capable of doing 300 on a tank outside of Chernobyl. and their goal is to run out of gas before they get
Before they get to Chernobyl.
And it's very good.
Which it's looking at like
It's not the most exciting
other
episode.
episodes that you've shown me since, but I'm pretty sure that's the one. I don't think you had me watch the whole episode. I think you just showed me like that like portion of an episode. But then after that, I'm pretty sure it was camper vans.
Oh my god.
So
Wait. The motorhome one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen that one too, I think.
with the tall white
I think
modern.
I've sent you clips of that. But maybe I made you watch it. That was the one
I've watched a little bit on my own.
That was
I
one of
think
the
that
ones I was
one of them.
considering watching.
So you very much cherry picked like good, funny episodes. But now, like as I've watched, now I can get more into other episodes because I know their personalities.
Right. But
So you
still,
definitely strategically.
How much of the show do you think you've watched?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know.
There's over 1,000 episodes, I think.
Holy crap.
Jeez.
Well, yeah, it's like, what, 20 years?
20, yeah, they were on the show from 2002 until 15 or 16. I think they got canceled. Or Jeremy got canceled rather for punching a producer in the face. And then they started the Grand Tour. So whenever the Grand Tour started is when Top Gear ended. It was a bang bang thing. Yeah. So no, but it's like over 20 seasons with them, and I've run through the show no less than 5 full times.
I feel like I went through a phase where I was watching it with you more, sitting down, actually paying attention. And lately I've gone back to I tune it out more.
Well, you'll
as
catch
of
in
late.
for a race.
There'll be episodes.
challenge.
Yeah, I'll see them come on and I'm like, oh, I know I like this one. Or
The
a
specials.
special will come on and I'm like, wait, like I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. But like, I really like that special. So like, I
I'll
want to
skip
watch
them and
that.
come back.
I want to watch that one.
Which actually,
So-
that's kind of a good point for the episode number. Is as it is. I have it written down as season 10, episode 7, which was as it was when it was broadcast. I believe it's episode 6. If you try to find it and buy it on streaming, because the special for this season I think was Bolivia, and it was in the middle of the season, and they moved it to the end in streaming, so it doesn't like chop it up.
Weird.
Which is weird because the episode after this they start referencing that trip.
Oh, right.
And so it's an interesting choice, but I think later on they moved. The specials happened on Christmas, so they were at the end of seasons. Yeah. What do I have? Let's see.
Well, I was going to ask, does it follow kind of a similar arc as Harmontown, where
What do
it
you
kind
mean
of
by
takes
that?
a little bit of while to get going, and then it really builds up steam, and then there may be kind of some dips along the way, or is it kind of great all the way through once they get that chemistry?
So it depends on what you're expecting going in. So it's nothing like, I don't know if you guys kind of have this feeling. It is nothing like American television at all. Pacing is much different. It is a BBC show, so there's no commercials, kind of like PBS-ish kind of here. So it just ran for an hour. It was a government produced. So
How do we get that in America?
the BBC?
No, just no commercials.
I don't know.
It'll never happen.
So the flow isn't broken up by anything. So they've done 2 American iterations of Top Gear USA and Top Gear America. Both have failed. And the first one, I don't remember which was first. I think it was Top Gear USA was first, I think. Like 10, 15 years ago. And they started with the exact same format. So start in a studio, throw to a piece, come back to the studio, throw to another piece. I think they even had celebrity interviews and a test track and all that deal. And American audiences, this is not me. This is on, Richard Porter was the script editor for Top Gear and the Grand Tour. He has a podcast called Smith and Sniff, where occasionally he will answer questions about his time script writing for Top Gear. And the reason that he thinks that they had to switch formats, according to his, albeit professional opinion, is that the American audiences didn't understand coming in and out of the studio like that. That broke our sense of continuity. Because with all of our shows, we kind of just do the thing. You know what I mean? Like, think Mythbusters, for
That's
example.
during like peak Family Guy, which is cutaway gags.
But that's different than, like, think of Mythbusters, right?
Medium
like
is different.
They
'cause
will
it's cartoon.
have 2 things, and it's just quick transitions and maybe a VO explainer. Like, they have their voiceover guy. But you don't go to the same people explaining a bit and then cutting back to a clip and then coming back to the studio where they're pretending like they only have the knowledge of what you've just seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a little choppy, and apparently it just didn't scan for American audiences. But what did y'all think of the pacing? Because it's very slow, relaxed almost. I don't think slow.
I didn't think
is the
it
right
was
word.
slow.
I didn't-
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it kind of went pretty quick.
But to answer your question from earlier, if you start with season 2, the audience doesn't applaud at the beginning of the episodes yet. That takes them many seasons, like 8. The chemistry is wild. They're reviewing much cheaper cars, the Smart Roadster, like everyday the VW Golf, like everyday normal cars. They do consumer buying advice, car safety surveys. It's just a very different show. And then they kind of start to hit their stride. There's a season 3. It starts to get quite good. Really by season 6, I would say it's starting to get very good. And then it stays that way until about season 15, 14, 15. And then it's just like so scripted, like obviously, that
There's still some bangers though.
there's some real bangers.
There's
And
still some
I
good
enjoy the
ones.
scriptedness, but you can just kind of tell
Yeah,
that they're
it's-
trying to
yeah.
always up
You
themselves.
can only do so much.
And at some point, it does become kind of a parody of itself, but I love it still. But
Yeah, it's still good.
you know, I'm in season, I think 20 right now in my millionth watch through, and I'm excited to get back into season 2. I like the first episode is they introduce James.
You love the
and
beginning of things.
I do love the beginning of things.
The beginning I cannot get into
No, she
because it's
can't.
way too much about cars.
It is
There's
very
not
much a car
enough
show.
like goofy.
Like this episode.
I'm gonna build a motorhome and a hover van. Like
Yeah. This episode just isn't that much about cars. It doesn't even have the star in the reasonably priced car segment, which did air originally, but in every single version of this episode, it's been removed.
Huh.
It was noted that it was
Weird.
removed for the Australian version, but I've never seen the star in the reasonably priced car for this episode. So that was kind of a happy thing. I was
What
like,
is the reasonably priced?
reasonably priced car? It's just
Yeah.
a car that's reasonably priced.
They just have a new one every episode.
No, it's the same one for multiple seasons. So it's originally a Suzuki Liana, and it's just like it's basically one of the cheapest cars on sale. The Chevrolet Lacetti it is at some point, a Kia C''D.
But they bring a celebrity in, they do an interview, everybody does a lap, and then you see how you rank.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So everybody does a lap in the same car.
So they do like a 5 or 10 minute interview with and then he goes, "Now let's get to your lap." And they show them this. They do a couple laps with the Stag, who teaches them how to drive the track, and then they go out on their own. And there's a
So, yeah,
power
it's
ranking
just-
board.
like celebrity guests,
Yeah.
right? So they're
Like-
not car people.
No, well, not
Per se.
necessarily. They have an F1
It's like
board.
Hot Ones, but with a car.
It's kind of like Hot
Yeah.
Ones with a car. Yeah.
That's-
it's like
that's
Hot Ones
great.
with a car. No, it
like
totally is.
there'll often be someone that I'm like, oh, it's that guy. Like Tom Hiddleston, Ewan McGregor's been
Where
on.
I'm at in the
Cameron
show-
Diaz has been on.
Yeah, where I'm at in the show, it's
Oh,
a
wow.
huge show and it's being shown in America. So they have Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz, but earlier it's
oh
like,
man, I bet Tom Cruise tore the track up.
yeah, actually, yes, I think he was the fastest ever.
Simon Cowell.
At that time.
course he
Simon
was.
Cowell.
That's
Simon Cowell
insane.
comes. He's the fastest ever. They get a new car, so they have to reset the board, and he comes back again, and he's the fastest ever again.
Really?
Wow.
He's really good at driving.
I don't know why that's shocking.
There's
but
that,
it
but
is.
then it's also like it's a lot of British only like
A lot of
celebrities, you know, like comedians that are only popular over there and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And it's
Jack
people
Whitehall, my king.
Jack Whitehall.
He's so funny.
Omar Jalali. He was in National Treasure. No, The Mummy. He's like the
Oh,
Persian guy in The Mummy
the-
that tries to hang Brendan Fraser at the very beginning. Yeah, he's on Top
remember.
Gear. He's from
I
Iran,
can't think
I
of
think.
Dumbledore's name. What's his name?
Michael Gambon.
Michael Gambon.
Michael Gambon, the last corner is called Gambon Corner because he was an early guest in season 1 and he almost rolled the car.
Oh my god.
And so they named that corner after him. It
Whoops.
became Gambon Corner. He comes back actually the second time he does an interview. He's doing a stage show in England and he has my favorite interview of the entire show. But I'm glad that y'all didn't have to like listen to a 12-minute segment about a person you've never heard of drive a car on a track. That was a kind of a happy accident when that was.
Here's what I learned. Americans say car names wrong. Nissan.
Yeah, so give me some.
However, I don't even remember how they said it, but Impreza.
Impreza.
Impreza. Yeah, they put a T in there.
Subaru Impreza. Tires spelled with a Y. I don't know if you noticed that in the thing. It's a bonnet instead of a hood. I say this on accident, but it's not windshield, it's windscreen. And I say windscreen just because, I've heard the amount of times I've heard that thing called something in my life. It's been way more times in Top Gear than just living my life in America,
That's
I've just
hysterical.
heard windscreen so much more.
Jaguar.
I
had a professor from the Isle of Man who I had her 3 different classes, and every time her introduction was like, yes, I have an accent, and yes, I say Jaguar. It's not Jaguar. So that was her. She would always land it's not Jaguar. I'm like, get it. She
And
was
I
delightful.
remember being a kid and seeing Jaguar written and being like, no. Because I thought it was Jaguar.
Yeah.
W-I-R-E. Yeah,
Jaguar
that
makes
was a
more
shock.
sense.
Jaguar.
Jaguar.
Hyundai is Hyundai, which is how it's
Hyundai.
pronounced, but it's a Hyundai accent, not a Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Mitsubishi. They make fun of
it's a
they make
Hyundai
fun of
with
us
an
for how
accent.
we pronounce. And then there's
And they
just
also
different-
hate big trucks, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but so there's a reason for that, and it's that their streets are quite small.
That's true.
They have medieval streets. They didn't knock all their buildings down and widen the roads for cars, so cars are just smaller over there. Everybody drives a hatchback. They're small, sensible cars.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the odd Land Rover and stuff over there. There's a shitload of Land Rover Discoveries over there and Range Rover Sports and stuff. But no, cars are just smaller. There's a lot of French hatchbacks, your Peugeots, your Renaults, stuff like that. Cars that I freaking wish we could have over here. The biggest takeaway for me is I want a small, crummy French hatchback. So bad. So bad. And to that end, this episode's central challenge was the British Leyland challenge. British Leyland was, and they explain this all in the episode, but it was basically you can kind of think of it, the collapse of BL, similarly to our collapse of Detroit. Strikes, riots, all that jazz, the industry just died, right? And British Leyland, it was kind of cracking me up. Welcome to my British car show. They're going to review 3 cars you've never heard of. It was
Correct.
Clarkson had a Rover 3500 SE. Hammond had a Triumph Dolomite Sprint, and James May had his Austin Princess 2200.
Princess.
Or as Jeremy said,
cheese.
James has brought a piece of cheese. You brought a princess, James.
Did you guys pick up immediately how their cadence is the way Cameron speaks? How much what Cameron says is what
Rubbish.
they say. Rubbish, yes.
Yes.
All the time. Even just the inflection of just a piece of cheese. You just do that.
It's just seeped in.
The way they say things is the way Cameron says things.
Very impressionable.
That's just-
What Danielle's learned through the past, especially through Top Gear, but also through these movies, is that I have no actual personality. It's just like Smokey and the Bandit, Top Gear,
And Harmontown.
and Harmontown.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
It's my whole personality. So,
I guess what I really love is Top Gear.
yeah, actually.
Actually.
So, what did you guys think of? No, let's not get to the main challenge first. I want to talk about the car test. Jeremy Clarkson tests and Aston. Is it an Aston Martin? DBS.
DB something.
It's a DBS.
DB9.
A DB9 is Aston Martins of this generation. To me, are the prettiest looking cars in the world. That's not what I'm interested about. I wrote a note. The only note I wrote down while we were watching was, and this is because it was true for me, and I want to know how the 3 of you feel about this statement. I wrote, I find that even if you aren't terribly interested in cars, if you treat the car review portions of Top Gear as almost mini documentaries, they can still be enjoyable. Is that scan? Because they give you don't have to care about a car to be open to being interested in being talked about. Does that
or have prior knowledge?
right? Because he assumes some things you have, and I still have no idea, but when he gives a pound-feet of torque figure or whatever, that cannot be put into perspective until you've learned okay, here's what a tiny car does versus a big car. You just got to watch enough, and then it starts to almost via osmosis make sense in relation to other things. I'm also the first time I ran through the amount of currency, what is it called when you swap a currency to another one? Help. Exchange
God,
rate. The
exchange rate.
exchange rate between pounds and the US dollar. I just so many times. I will just look that up and then put the inflation in to be like, oh, that's actually reasonable or that's unreasonable, because their money at this time is worth more than ours. So when they say like 10,000 pounds, it's like, all right, that's like 14,500 bucks or whatever. But what did y'all think of was it mind-numbingly boring to watch him review a DBS?
I don't think so.
Yes, can
I don't
be.
know about the documentary angle approach, but I think just watching it, I don't know if it's just because of the way they kind of sandwiched it, or like between like, you know, we get the introduction of all the guys and then we get to see Jeremy Clarkson go off on his own and kind of talk about the cars. And we already kind of like him because we've seen him be goofy with his friends. So I don't know if that's kind of working for me, but yeah, I don't know. It was interesting.
That is
I like
exactly
when things are well made.
Yeah, so the show flow was, we got about 10 minutes of the British Leyland Challenge, which is the hallmark of the episode. Then we went back to the DBS review. Then I believe we did the news, and then we finished the British Leyland Challenge for another like 20 or 30 minute block. That's kind of how the show flow was.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened for me. It was like that portion of the show, I was just very into his personality, his reaction to the car, not necessarily. I mean, the car was cool.
Speaks to him as a presenter.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. There's an episode that James May does on the history of Ferrari racing. And I think it might be a Grand Tour piece, actually, from the first 2 seasons of the Grand Tour. And it's like one of the most interesting and engagingly presented pieces of television I have ever seen in my entire life. And I've never watched Formula One. I have no reason to care about Ferrari's racing pedigree, but that 10 or 12-minute segment was just unbelievable. And I saw people, like I was, watching the Grand Tour every episode as it came out, and I saw people tweeting like, that was incredible. Dang. And it just was. And that speaks to their presenting style. You can tell.
Yeah.
I really like, and this might be why I got into it on a level, I like watching people who are passionate about something be passionate about that something and explain how it works.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me. I mean, I'll watch a dude called
Oh
Technology
my
Connections
God.
on YouTube explain how dishwashers work for 90 minutes.
This man watched the most boring
I tried
shit.
to explain to some of my friends about the dishwasher video, and they're like, "You needed a 45-minute video to explain this?"
He's
and I was
seen
like,
it too.
"Yes,
He's seen it too.
We talked about this one,
Yeah.
It's really good. I thought
really
I
good.
was hand washing because I thought it used less water, but I was wrong.
You were wrong.
Dishwasher
Dishwashers
recycles.
are more
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah,
But you should
Than
do
hand
what?
washing.
You should turn your hot water on your sink
Yep.
because it
Preheat
heats,
it.
It preheats for your dishwasher,
Yeah.
so it doesn't waste the hot.
and
rinse.
powder I think was the best kind of detergent, but
It
liquid's
was.
a good follow-up.
Yep.
Those pods are shit. Don't do that.
That's what we use.
Pods suck so bad.
Yeah, we should use powder.
And they're more expensive.
they are.
Yep.
Like almost double.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus, then you don't get to shake little powder into a thing. That's fun.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna buy pods anymore.
Don't buy pods. Technology.
Yeah.
Why
Connections.
haven't you told me this from all your videos?
I forgot. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
PSA.
No, and to talking about like their personalities, I think that's also why outside of Top Gear, Jeremy Clarkson works for me too. The Clarkson Farm show
Oh
that
my
he
Oh my
does now.
god! I
So
didn't
good.
think to bring that up.
I know nothing about farming, but that show is incredible.
Carl, have
and it
you
makes
watched-
me want to know about
Have you watched
farming.
Clarkson's Farm?
I have not.
It's on Prime. Watch it
should
after
watch
this.
it.
It
Okay.
is
Yeah.
unbelievable. 3 seasons right now?
Is it?
It might be 4.
Okay, it's still going.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a
Okay.
new one coming.
There's
Probably
usually
late
a
this
couple.
year.
It's usually
I've
every
only seen
couple
the first.
years.
Oh my god.
I think there's
Dude.
4 seasons out right now.
I think there's 3 seasons. I
3
think we're getting into the
seasons?
4th.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember though. There's at least 2. My whole family watched it. My grandma, who grew up on a farm in the 50s,
Oh, that's cool.
loves it. Loves it. There's a lot of swearing, and she is a swearing enthusiast, so she finds it very funny. But
Because yeah, just real quick for Carl, the premise is
Jeremy Clarkson has lived on a farm in the Cotswolds for decades at this point, and he decided his farmer, the guy that maintained his land, retired, and he decided I'm gonna do it.
Oh.
And he knew nothing about farming.
insane.
So you are watching a dude who knows nothing about farming screw up.
No,
But-
don't
and
do
then
that.
COVID happens
He's-
in the first season.
Yeah, and he's accidentally become like a very powerful advocate for UK farmers.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like not a popular guy really in England because he says
That's so
really
shocking.
brash things in his newspaper columns and gets in trouble all the time because he doesn't have a filter between his brain and his mouth. Can relate. But he's winning a lot of good favor because his farm show is just good, and it's really good at going the cost of this thing and blah blah blah. But that's beside the point. That's not Top Gear. But Clarkson Farm is amazing, and to that end, I've watched almost everything James May has ever done.
See, I had trouble with James May shows. I tried to watch the Our Man in Japan. Is that what it's called?
Oh,
I couldn't get into it. I got a couple episodes
We
in.
liked that one.
I loved Our Man in
We
Japan.
didn't like the other ones.
Aren't super good. And then he's got a show called The Reassembler where he just puts together things.
Snooze.
It's amazing. I love it. It's got like
Boring.
no background music. It's just James May sipping a cup of tea in a shed and building a lawnmower. Amazing television. But I'll watch anything with those idiots. I just will. Do we have?
So how many episodes? This one was kind of. Are you going to go into more detail about the different challenges, or?
No, I want to talk about that. Let's talk about the different challenges.
Because I was going to say this one was kind of ridiculous because we're filling cards with water and like things are falling apart. It's absurd. Are most episodes like that
Not
where it's like
most.
kind of crazy? Okay,
I
like
would
what percentage
say
do you think
there
are like the one
are-
we've?
I'd say there are a good 1 to 3 episodes a season like that when you get into the
Okay.
later ones. But there's also other kinds of things. So this falls under my favorite kind of mini special like challenge category of Top Gear called the Cheap Car Challenge. That's what this was. There's the 100-pound cars. They do. Can you buy a Porsche for Mondeo money? Which the Mondeo here is the Ford Fusion. So for the cost of like a shitty Ford sedan, can you get a Porsche like supercar? No. and it's stuff like that. And they all have the challenges and blah, blah, blah. There's also races. So it's a car versus public transport every time. So it'll be like the Bugatti Veyron versus James flying a Cessna across parts of Europe. Or that he raced a Nissan GTR against a Japanese bullet train. And then he raced I think a Mercedes McLaren SLR against a boat.
Well, there's
Like-
one race where Jeremy's on a steam, like a coal train.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's
James is on a boat.
That one
then someone's
was
on a bike,
You're
right?
kind of
Someone's on a bike.
misspeaking.
Oh.
It was what if we did Top Gear? What would Top Gear look like if we filmed it in the 1950s? So
Okay.
they did the fastest train in the world, the fastest car in the world, and the fastest motorcycle in the world of the 1950s.
yeah.
And so they happened to finish this replica train, which was kind of the catalyst. And then they got an old 1950s Jag that James drove. And then Richard Hammond was on, what was it called? The Black something. Doesn't matter. An old motorcycle. And they do a race from the same spot to some hotel or whatever. And I believe the car wins. James wins, then Jeremy on the train, and then Richard
Spoilers.
comes in third. That's spoilers. But the races are incredible too. And then they have other gag episodes like building a hover van, a van,
Oh my
a
gosh.
car and the amphibious car challenge.
Amphibious
which
cars might be my favorite episode.
If Nick hadn't seen it,
That would have been the
that's
one.
probably what we would have watched because the ending of that, Carl, we can watch it maybe sometime offline. Let's just make Friday nights Top Gear nights. We'll watch an episode.
There we go.
I'm down to watch more in Discord, of course. But this one, the point was, the producers were saying British Leyland never made a good car. The producers are always like put forth as youths, people in their 20s, and they know better. Like there was a challenge in a later season, one that I just watched, I think season 19 or 20, where it was hot hatchbacks of the 80s were better than they are now. So they go out and buy 80s hot hatchbacks, and they're terrible pieces of shit, and et cetera, et cetera. So it goes, and it's always great fun. This one was obviously British Leyland never made a good car, so there were. Let's see, 5 tests. Number 1 was the reliability test, which seems simple. Drive 40 miles to the old Morris factory. And the bit was they spent 1,200 pounds of their own money. The producers made them put your money where your mouth is about BL. They put 1,200 pounds. And then all the challenges were opportunities to win their money back. So it was, if you don't break down over the short 40 miles, you can have some money back. All 3 of them broke down. And then part 2 was the power test, which were timed laps of the Mira circuit with the goal of beating the Stig set time of 1 minute and 11 seconds in a Datsun 120Y, which as James May put it, quote, the little Japanese car that showed our dads that they didn't need to have a flaky Austin 1100 that broke down all the time. None of them came. None of them beat it. James got lost. Richard's car was disgustingly terrible. And Jeremy came closest with a minute 12, but they all failed, so they got no money back.
Yeah. No, James got 20 back.
Not in that chat. Not in
Okay. My bad.
Test 3
Spoilers.
was the first test for some won some money back. Drive up the 33.3% grade hill, which is so steep. Stop at a specified stopping point. put on your handbrake, and get out. And they all drive. Elementary level knowledge of manual cars is required. Manual cars don't have a park.
Oh.
So they put their cars in neutral. And the parking brake is the only... My Miata out there doesn't have a park. If I'm parked on a downward hill, I'm going to put my car in reverse to lock it into a gear and then put the handbrake on. And then if I'm on an uphill, I put it into first gear and put the handbrake on. So you want it in gear so it can't move. But they would probably leave their cars in neutral so they can roll back for comedy. But the handbrake's the only thing. Manual cars do not have a parking gear. That's what the parking brake is for. And because of this show, she can say, you never used to use your parking brake.
No.
I've used my handbrake every time.
Hey, well, you always fussed at me. Like, I should be using my
One of my
brake.
fears is...
So then
like,
I started using it, so you leave me alone.
Well, one of the fears I had was like I'm gonna be parked at like a parking lot or something with my handbrake off, and someone's gonna hit my car and push my car into another car, and insurance is gonna be like, "Was your handbrake on?" And that's probably irrational, but now I make it a habit. Just I crank that thing every time I stop.
Now I do too.
So the goal was stop on the stopping point, put the handbrake on, get out with 100 pounds awarded to any car remaining stationary. Richards did not. James did. Jeremy had so much wheel spin that his tires smoked. I therefore claimed I had done it, and I moved on.
That was probably my favorite part of this episode.
Really?
Was the hill.
Richard scrambling to get out of the car too. Was so funny.
His noise he makes when it starts going, and then it rolls back. And then James has one of the best lines. Having failed the handbrake test, he's knocked down the sign warning him how steep the hill is. Again, James
oh my God,
May.
at the very beginning, they couldn't get the cars to start, and he's like, you know what, I like it here.
I like it,
that,
yeah.
Like, that got me, that's so funny.
It's a shame to leave. Yeah, they're just so good. So funny. And then actually my favorite part of the episode, I would like to know everybody's favorite parts. Good call, Carl. My favorite part is when they arrive at it's the third factory they try to visit after they go there 40 miles or whatever. And they do that stupid bit where they do the drum solo with the cars. Which is it's a stupid bit, right? But then they all get back to leave, and Jeremy opens his car door, and there's a bit that y'all might have missed that's a recurring bit of Richard always opening his door
Every
into
time.
whatever car James is driving. That's a bit that lasts 20 years. They're always crashing into each other.
Or literally crashing the cars together.
Jeremy opens his doors, they all do, and his door card stays in place. So he opens his door, and his door's still
Splits
there.
in half.
That is one of the hardest laughs I had throughout my first Top Gear run. That, for whatever reason, almost made me piss myself. I remember sitting in my childhood bedroom crying tears. And I opened my door, and my door's still there. So good. Did you have a part that stuck out?
Not a specific line or anything. I did really laugh every time Jeremy would look at the camera and refer to BL as industrious little fellows.
Oh no, that was Korea. That was during the news.
Oh yeah.
Which the news is one of my favorite portions of every episode because you get some riff. We remember when we tried to do news on this show and it just didn't work because we're not as funny as them. But and because who cares about movie news? It's stupid. Yeah, so their show had just been sold for viewing in Korea.
Oh, that's right.
Hello,
That's right.
industrious
That's right.
little fellows, which is so.
Little
I do. I have like random quotes written down. No need for traction. Doesn't have it.
Traction control. So traction control is bad because you want a little bit of slip into a corner when you're racing. So he couldn't turn it off because he doesn't have it.
Or just Jeremy referring to the like cheap car he had is going, the noise it's making is biblical.
Biblical. Yeah. Man, the colloquialisms and idioms that they have over in the UK, I've kind of if you watch more Top Gear, you'll get, that's why he says these things.
Yeah.
Like I just find them so endearing. Rubbish. Brilliant. It's brilliant. Like it's just good. It's fun.
When they say things, instead of saying something is good, it's not crap.
Yeah.
Like,
That's not crap.
Yeah.
This is very uncrap. Yeah.
instead of saying something positive, they say something like negative.
My favorite one is terrible rubbish. That's good.
Terrible
There's so
rubbish.
many syllables for what we would call this sucks. This is terrible rubbish. They just have a way with words. They have a better grasp on the English language than we do. We're idiots. Test 4 was the ride comfort. That was the cobblestone road with the eggs.
Oh my god.
Carl, as an egg connoisseur, what'd you think about that test?
I mean, a great waste of eggs, but very funny.
Yeah, so they put the producers, always to blame, put a colander of eggs over their heads, like attached to the headliner in the cars, and they had to drive over a cobblestone road that new cars are tested on at 25 miles an hour. They had to drive over it at 30 in cars that are like 30 years old. And they they would earn
pieces falling off everybody's car.
Yeah,
That was so
they would
funny.
earn 10 pounds for each gram of egg left in the colander, but lose 10 pounds for each trim piece that fell off. James had 4 grams of egg, but lost 2 trim pieces. He got 20 pounds. Richard lost 6 trim pieces and had no egg left, so he was 60 pounds down. And James also had 4 grams of egg and lost 2. Or Jeremy had 4 grams of egg, lost 2 trim pieces, also $20. But one of them was a door.
I was going to say it was a door.
As she says, one of them was quite large.
Or was it Hammond who lost the actual radio from inside?
Technically, that throws his whole ass radio up.
So funny.
And then the water test that somebody brought up, which is great. When they have like the 3 pipes and 2 water trucks, Jeremy, it's not filling up. And he's like, rubbish. in his mask.
Bring another hose.
It's not filling up. Yes, it is.
So defiant. Yeah.
The final tally throughout all the challenges, Richard finished minus 1,010 pounds. Jeremy had minus 978. And James had a 20-pound refund.
Hey.
He wins,
man.
which apparently isn't common for James.
Very rare. The 100-pound car challenge. Maybe we'll watch that one day. The ending of that is beautiful. Jeremy wins like almost always.
Or he just declares himself the winner.
Yes. Like there are times that James will win, but everybody thinks his car sucks. They'll be like, look into the camera and tell the nation that your car is best, and he can't do it because it's just so shitty. Let's see. This episode has my favorite some say bit. So the Stig, starting in season 3, I think, or 4, was always introduced as some say, and then like some completely false anecdote because the Stig wasn't supposed to be human. So, and one of the ones from this episode, that's my favorite one in the whole show, is some say he only knows 2 facts about ducks, and both of them are wrong. Which is very good. There's another one regarding ducks. Some say he sucks the moisture out of ducks. All right. Wild. The some say bit is 10 out of 10. It rarely misses.
Sucks the moisture out of ducks.
Let's see. Oh, and then this is a recurring bit. The top secret testing center, and then he gives like near exact directions to it.
Yeah.
That recurs.
And then if you go there, it's way too far. You need to back up a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do that with every time they have to do a build, like when they're building the hover van or whatever. The top secret, Top Gear production science building off the A1A and whatever.
Yeah.
Like they just, it's a good recurring bit. So, all right. What did y'all think though? Like, would you, not saying you, and don't try to please me, was it interesting? Would you, like, on a 1 to 10 scale? I know we normally do hit or miss, but on like a 1 to 10 scale, like how good was it?
I mean, for me, the personalities certainly carry it.
Yeah.
Like without those 3 guys, I don't know that I would ever be interested.
Probably not.
I tried to watch because I was on a big Dax Shepard kick. I was listening to Armchair Expert.
And he he on Top Gear America?
Yeah, so I tried to
Rob
watch a
Corddry.
couple of those episodes. I just was not into it.
It's not the same.
Which that's probably for a number of reasons, but yeah, for me the personalities definitely carry it.
Okay.
But I absolutely would watch more.
All right. Carl, what did you think? I was most concerned about you, I think. You're the only
Yeah.
one here who didn't have any Top Gear exposure.
Well, I think whenever I was living with you guys for that week or 2, I think we watched an episode of that and maybe the wine
Probably.
show.
Oh, the wine show is very good.
But so I feel like I've seen like the beats of the show felt familiar. Like
Okay.
I was like I know like I remember the news segment from last time and the Stig racing and all that. So, but yeah, still very minimal exposure. But I thought it was really funny. I was like cracking up and like having to mute myself because I was laughing so much.
I was
but,
almost
like,
watching you guys more than the episode last night.
the part that got me the most, and it was like just those transitions with like it
Yes.
would be a vignette of a car and like leaves gently going across the
During the
road.
TBS test.
And it just felt so like I don't know. They reminded me of like an
2010s.
early YouTube kind of feel, you know, where things were like And it's funny you mentioned MythBusters. It definitely gave me like MythBusters vibes. It gave me a little bit of Harmontown vibes. Like you almost feel like you're watching. I don't know if it's underdogs or just unlikely heroes go across this epic journey, like to try to save their cars or something, you know.
Well, but they
you definitely you
were-
feel like you're watching. It's both like kind of not understated, but like it's kind of low stakes and high stakes at the same time or something. I don't know. They do a tightrope walk.
They refer to their own show, Jeremy especially, as this pokey little motoring show on the BBC because that's what it started out as. Yeah. When Top Gear got shelved, he kind of linked up with Andy Willman, who ended up hosting a little bit of Top Gear, old Top Gear, and was not very good at it. And they were like, we're going to try to revive this friggin' thing. Because he left the BBC and then went and made a program that's on YouTube in full called Jeremy Clarkson Meets the Neighbors, where he takes an E-Type Jag and he goes around Europe and interviews people in his same bombasticness. And it's insane. And then he comes back and goes, we're going to make Top Gear again. And I'm going to do my own crew. And they actually filmed 3 pilots. And the first 2 were unusable. And then they ran out of time. And the BBC was like, you can make a 3rd, but you have to put it on television. And then it just was fine enough. And then after season 2, it just kept growing and growing. And then it was the biggest show on Earth for years. That's wild. And it's just this, what he says, pokey. They were literally the underdogs of the BBC. They kind of had limitless money. They got away with things until they couldn't get away with it anymore. And then Amazon gave them all of the money in the world to make the Grand Tour.
Which that just ended, right?
The Grand Tour just ended with the final special where they go back to the ending. They end up in Africa in the same place where the first African special ends. Oh. So they really full circle. I am not ashamed to say that I was a bit weepy when that ended.
You watched it when I wasn't here. I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, you walked in, and I was hoping that you would be later because I wasn't done having my weep yet. And I had to be like, it's fine, I'm a grown man.
Leave me alone.
I mean, the Top Gear guys were crying. I was crying. It was rough. And
Get out!
And it's just... I don't know if I'm ready. And what did I do? As soon as that ended, I started Top Gear Season 2, Episode 1. Oh, God. That night, I restarted the show, and I went, I can't... A part of me
don't want to live a life without Top Gear.
Well, part of me is kind of glad on a level that it's over because now, similar to Harmontown, I'm free to just rewatch it forever.
Yeah.
There's no more new episodes that aren't as good as they were 15 years ago. It's over, resoundedly. And now it can live almost as a legend for me for the rest of my life.
Well, it was also over until the Grand Tour happened.
Yeah.
Do you think there will be anything else?
No. Well, Jeremy's got Clarkson's Farm. Richard's got his show on Discovery UK, which unfortunately isn't here. I forget what his workshop show is called. I know his shop is called The Smallest Cog. But I forget what his show's called. Then James May is all over the place. He's got a YouTube channel, actually, that uploads quite often. Huh. He's got 2 YouTube channels, really. So he's still doing a lot of stuff. He's had the Our Man In series, which just got canceled. He's doing another show in lieu of Man Lab, which is a series he did in England a couple years ago that I've managed to watch some episodes of on YouTube. And so they're all very much still doing television, just not together. Which, once you do something with 20 years, now you want to branch out. James May wants to do a show about bicycles or something, and that's totally fine. So, and also...
It's funny that branching out is still like a moving
the
vehicle.
Wheels and
Jeremy Clarkson's driving tractors now, and Richard.
It's all still loosely connected.
Yeah, Richard Hammond's doing Drive Tribe stuff, and him and his daughter are building cars and stuff, and they're all still very much active. And Richard's that little bit younger than the other 2. He's in his late 50s; they're in their 60s. So, and then what's nice for me is that Top Gear did inspire a whole generation, and now that generation is in their mid to late 20s, early 30s, early 40s even, and is doing what Top Gear did just on YouTube. Yeah. So I actually have this list of YouTube creators and podcasts that I will now read. If you are an old Top Gear fan or something and want more Top Gear, this is how to get it. And for YouTube, it's Auto Alex. He's the number 1 for me. Top Dead Center as well. All the Gear. Those 3 are sister channels. All the Gear is not as car focused, but it's still very good.
I love All the Gear.
Big Time. Big Time is awesome. Top Rare, which is a Discord collection, kind of this Discord group that's been archiving old Top Gear segments and putting them on YouTube. So it's Jeremy Clarkson in the 80s with an afro reviewing like a 1994 car. It's the best. Podcast wise, the Waymo Spotcast is quite good. Smith and Sniff Nick does not know how to work his phone.
Sorry.
Smith and Sniff is the Top Gear script editor, and then a former host of Fifth Gear. They do a podcast. They've been doing it for a couple years.
Gear.
Fifth Gear was the Top Gear rival show. And what else? The Late Break Show is also one of those guys. So that's just the best. It's just they're still doing, buying cheap cars and tarting them up and then going to the Nürburgring in Germany and thrashing them around, and it's very cool.
The spirit of Top Gear lives on.
It is, but kind of with a more mechanical spin, which is cool. You kind of get them in the garage fixing things, and I appreciate that a lot because I don't know what's happening, and I've got a car that I need to learn how to fix. So that's been nice to go, oh, this is how this works, and this is the tools you need, and so it's different, but it's in the same vein to where it's like the Top Gear spirit is living on. It's just on YouTube through like channels like Auto Alex and Top Dead Center. So
there you go.
But yeah, that's kind of Top Gear. I mean, for me, I'm gonna freaking watch it later tonight. Like we'll probably be watching Long Way Up actually, but
then after that, once I get sleepy, you'll put Top Gear on.
it'll never end for me. It'll never
Something
end for me.
about Top Gear that always brings a giggle to me is about the same time there was a little show called America's Next Top Model that my sister and I were watching in like 2004.
That's a good show.
And a lot of the background music for America's Next Top Model and Top Gear is the same. So like in this episode, when they like are leaving the like factory, it's the same song as like a girl that was being sent home in America's Next Top Model would play.
Now,
So like I hear
great.
the certain music beats and I'm like, where's Tyra Banks? Like, where is she? Time for a photo shoot.
Some of that music is audio library replacements from what was actually televised initially because the BBC, I'm not sure how this works, but the British government kind of holds some use of music recorded in that country where they can use it. And because Top Gear was a BBC show, they can use like a Rolling Stones song or the Beatles or whatever. But then when it goes out for international distribution, like what I'm watching here in America, they have changed some of the songs. So Richard Porter, the script editor on the Smith and Sniff podcast and stuff, I'm actually reading his book right now about his time on Top Gear, which is also incredible. He said that they used to have a guy whose job it was to find comparable music that kind of fit the mood. And it was, he said it was always funny to them because it was worse. And it changed the mood in some ways, but it's all I've known. So, and there's some episodes and seasons where definitely like I'm sure they're using the original music, but then others where I'm just not quite sure. But I don't know any better.
Either way, it makes me laugh.
But yeah,
I don't care.
That's funny.
Either way,
you've
it's
never
the
mentioned
same
that
music.
before.
I think I haven't forgotten.
That's hilarious. So, can we give it a hit or miss? Does anybody have anything else?
I kind of want to know everyone's favorite personality.
What do we else want to do?
Okay,
When do we want to do that?
let's get Nick's take, and then we'll play our game.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. This isn't scary. Just go ahead.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess I'll start. I really love Hammond. I don't know
if he's anyone's favorite, other than like women who were attracted to him in 2006.
I don't know. Like Carl was saying, he has the most like wannabe famous personality. Like he's, I don't know. Just something about his wittiness.
He's got a couple nicknames and a couple things he gets teased for. He dyes his hair. He's dyed his teeth white. He's American. They make fun of him for being American. And his nickname is the Hamster because he's quite small.
Yeah, him standing next to Jeremy Clarkson that one time, I fell out of my chair. I was like, that's crazy.
Jeremy's nickname is just like a play on his name, Jezza. So he's Jezza, the Hamster, and Captain Slow.
Captain Slow.
Or I think he says, as the Germans call him, Mr. Slowly. So you're a Hammond guy.
Hammond's so expressive.
Yeah,
and I like that.
He's an angry little oaf.
Yeah.
Carl,
God bless him.
Who's your fave of the limited exposure you have?
Of the limited exposure, I think Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah,
He's just,
I think that's
he just seems
correct.
like the resounding, grounding force for the whole show.
Danielle, you have a lot of exposure. Who's your fave?
I've told you before. I think Hammond's also my favorite.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Look at us agreeing.
Classic.
I know.
You and Nick.
Me and Nick.
All right, Danielle, what's our game?
We, in lieu of hot points, we are going to do an FMK of Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May.
This is great.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go
I'll
first?
end because mine will be definitive.
Of course. I already know
we're
what
all doing it.
Yeah.
yours is. So my initial I had like an initial response, and then I thought about it, and I was like, because if you marry them, you then have to sleep with them multiple times versus just sleeping with them once. You know what I mean?
Have a loveless marriage, yeah.
That's true.
That's not the game, though. I mean, it's marriage. It's a full marriage. It's marriage. You got to do it. So, with that, I think Jeremy would drive me crazy. Also, the farm. I don't want to manage a farm.
You have to be a special woman like Lisa.
All the amount of the money he would spend. He's a bit of an oaf.
Yes.
He's a bit obnoxious. He's very tall.
He's got pubes for hair, as they say.
I'm not attracted to him. So Jeremy Clarkson is my kill. Even though he's funny, he's the kill for me.
Okay.
So then my initial reaction to James was Mary.
Okay.
But I also think he would drive me crazy a little bit.
Because he's pedantic.
He's too pedantic and serious.
Yeah.
So James would be my F, which would mean Hammond would be my Mary.
All right.
Even though he is 5'7", but that's still 3 inches taller than me, so we're okay.
He's only small. Nick, why don't you go next?
Oh God.
We'll go down down the length of exposure.
I think you marry James because he's the most chill.
Okay.
Like it's less personality.
He would also like cook for he'd have good cooking and like building skills.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for James.
He's handy. He knows how he's the one of the three that like knows how engines work and stuff.
And then God,
don't think too hard.
I don't want to F Jeremy. That just seems gross.
His teeth are green and
Hammond's
but I don't want to kill him.
That's you have to.
All right, Hammond's getting killed. F Jeremy.
Yeah.
What? I thought that was going to go the other way.
Mary and James.
All right,
Wow.
Carl.
My God, I barely know these guys.
Just do it on appearance. Like,
I guess. I mean, having a farm sounds nice because you get free food, all those free eggs. I'd save a ton of money.
I mean, free eggs, but thousands of dollars in chicken feed and like housing and protecting them from the
profitable.
elements.
No.
No,
I'm not gonna do.
Watch the
work.
show. It's not.
Yeah. God, I guess F Richard because he's the fanciest.
Okay.
He's the most attractive of the three.
Mary. God, I guess marry Jeremy just for the farm money because when he dies, I'll inherit it and then I can sell it.
True.
Okay.
And then I guess killed James, but it doesn't seem like he deserved it.
Damn.
It didn't mean to.
Poor James May.
Yeah.
He's gonna of mice and men, James May.
Oh.
Dang. All right, so here's the correct answer. Is you kill Jeremy because he's a large, obtuse oaf. You F Richard, and then you marry James. 100%. 100%. He is pedantic, but I would like that.
You would like
I'm
that.
pedantic in similar
well.
ways to James. I like my things exactly the way that they are, and they should never be any other way. I'm quite clean.
Talking about that pre-show.
Yeah, we did. So that's I
That was almost what I said.
I identify with James the most, and I think that I can hang around. I do think that it would maybe end in a semi-amicable divorce after a decade or so, because we would get sick of each other. But I would marry James. I think that's the play. So he is without a doubt my favorite. And his personality, like he's not as bold, so he tends to kind of be backseaty away in ways. But he, in my opinion, is the funniest.
He's the quiet. He sneaks in there with the quiet
funniest.
funny.
He doesn't always speak, but when he does, you're like, that was hilarious.
Does he have a really dry sense of humor?
In ways, yeah. Like I think Jeremy Clarkson at one point makes a comment about his clothing or his shoes or his appearance in some way, and I think James's response was a crushing. What was it? Hang on. Oh shit! A crushing critique from one so handsome towards Jeremy. And you're just like, damn. A crushing critique from one so handsome.
Poignant funny.
So that was Top Gear, folks. Thanks for.
Well, I had one last question for you, Cameron.
Oh.
If there's any people alive right now that you like enough that you would watch their version of Top Gear, like if Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Davis decided to
my
do
God.
Top Gear or something.
No, that's an easy-ish answer because I would just make Auto Alex's YouTube channel in the Top Gear. They have a trio. They're quite funny. You've kind of seen a little bit of them, and they kind of do a similar deal, but just with that kind of that YouTube flavor. They have very high production, and they have a team. Like they have a lot of employees, and they run, I think, 5 YouTube channels and 2 podcasts. Like,
Jeez.
They're a small empire now. But that's my answer. Is it would just and part of the reason is for me, most of the car content I follow remains in England because of Top Gear. They just do it different. And I like the way that their cars I find more interesting than our cars because they still have cars. We don't have cars over here. You know what I mean? I don't care about a Hyundai Santa Fe. I don't care about a big truck. I want to drive a little French hatchback down a cobble street. It's the best. So no, it would just be the Auto Alex YouTube channel. I would. That's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's 100% my answer. It's 100% my answer. So yeah,
There you go. So yes,
there you go. Well, thanks for humoring me and watching Top Gear.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
I had a
with
blast
Top
last
Gear.
night. I would do that again any night. Please.
Watch more Top Gear with me.
No, I have. Oh, let me really quickly to end. If anybody else is a Top Gear fan that's managed to listen to this long, I have a list of the other episodes I considered. And it was the season 8, episode 3, amphibious card challenge. Season 12, episode 1, the 5,000-pound lorry challenge. Lorries are
That
semi
one's
trucks.
so good.
The season 13, episode 2, perfect $2,500 car for 17-year-olds. Which
That
is the one
one's also really good.
Yeah, but the other segments outside of that weren't as engaging as this one, I think, for a first-time viewer. And then the season 15, episode 4, building motorhomes, which is probably one of my favorite episodes of all time. So that one has some hysterical moments.
Those are all really good.
Those are all very good. And then, of course, Amphibious Challenge Part 2. The Rover James is a good bit.
The Jeff,
the Hammerhead Eagle Eye Thrust, yeah. A hover van is
Hover
incredible.
van's so good.
I mentioned the 100-pound sheep car challenge, all the races, the specials, for God's sakes.
It's so easy to get in and out of, you know.
It is nice to have such a
Is
nice
that the
high
Rover
seat.
James?
That is the Rover
Okay,
James,
okay,
yes. Yes. So building a car for old people is that episode.
Yep.
And because of that, they named it after James because he's old. Yeah, that was Top Gear, folks. Should we do 20 questions? Do we have time?
We've been
We
going for
better.
like an hour and
Holy
4
shit.
minutes.
We do not have time.
All right.
We do not have time. We're gonna.
It's been on me for like 3 weeks.
I know. But
We
we've
keep
been going for
talking a lot.
so long.
Fine.
This happens every time. It's like something I pick where I could just. I mean, I could talk about Top Gear for weeks.
You could.
Weeks.
Well, I'm still going to talk because
No, please. So you're the next thing we're watching. So everybody,
I'm
brace.
It's me.
I'm very curious.
Everybody brace.
When you said over an hour, I was like, what
So yeah,
could this be?
What the hell show is an hour 14 minutes for an episode? Are you
14.
breaking the rules?
No, it is a TV show.
Oh, he's breaking the rules. You see the way he said that? He found a loophole.
Not okay.
Okay.
It's a TV show.
I have no
I don't know
idea.
how I said it. Next week we will be watching season 4, episode 1 of Black Mirror.
I thank Christ.
Oh,
Oh God.
Black
I don't know
Mirror.
if Carl has seen it.
I've really just seen like season 1,
Nick,
episode
have
1
you
of Black
picked
Mirror,
something-
and that was the pig fucking episode, and I couldn't do it.
Have you picked something that's going to like hurt my brain for a
No,
long
no, no.
time? 'Cause
No,
you
it
got to
won't.
be nice to me, man.
It won't.
I
It
don't
won't.
want to have. It's an elect. We have Donald Trump coming into office. Don't make me have an
No.
existential
I actually-
crisis.
Wait, is Jesse Plemons in that one?
Yes.
I think I know which one you might be
Okay.
talking about.
So
For God's
I
sakes.
picked this one.
I'm scared.
So Black Mirror is
Scary.
it's not that scary. The whole idea behind Black Mirror is it's like, what is the future of technology going to look like? And this is kind of the path where it could go bad. But each episode is its own storyline, like beginning to end. So
Why didn't I think you'd pick Black Mirror?
I don't know.
Oh, that's your favorite show?
So I don't know that it's necessarily my favorite show, but this episode specifically has stuck with me since it came out in 2017.
In what way?
Well, we'll have to talk about that
Okay,
next
you're
week.
gonna-
Find out
But
next week.
to give you a little backstory here,
Okay.
it does star Jesse Plemons, so there is a Breaking Bad tie-in
I
at
don't know
least.
who the hell that is.
You'll be like, oh, that guy.
Is that
Let
the
me
guy
see
who's
him.
like, ah ha ha? Doesn't he laugh?
What?
There was some guy.
You know,
I'm Jesse Plemons. Wow, you better clip that. Jesus wept.
There it was a Top Gear interview, and it was a guy from Breaking Bad, and I couldn't stand the way he talked.
Jesse Pinkman.
Oh, I hope.
His laugh.
What's his name?
is Jesse Pink. Well, that's his name in the.
That's Aaron Paul.
Aaron Paul. That's Aaron.
Oh
Paul.
my God! Yes, no, this guy.
Oh,
So
no,
I
not
hate-
him.
He laughs with
Okay.
his whole face, and he's like, It's like he literally laughs like the Count from Sesame
That's
Street.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he
Okay.
laughs like the Count from Sesame Street.
But not
I get
that
what you're
guy.
saying. Not
Okay.
that guy.
Okay.
Not that guy. Gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
The guy that looks a little bit like Matt Damon, but
Yeah.
he's the character
Oh,
actor.
we're black mirroring Carl's internet right now.
Yep.
Power
Oh,
through.
God.
No,
So
you're
anyways-
good now. You're good now.
We're bracing for a winter storm.
Yeah, you're
Ooh.
bracing for a
Oh, boy.
winter slideshow. Jesus wept. Nick, hurry up.
So, Black Mirror season 4, episode 1, USS Callister.
McAllister's?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
I actually
choose.
think you will genuinely like this.
I will?
because it is an ode to Star Trek, specifically the original series.
I like the original series. I'm a TOS guy.
The quick little plot here is Captain Robert Daly presides over his crew with wisdom and courage, but a new recruit will soon discover that nothing on the spaceship is what it seems.
Okay. There's like Star Trek episodes kind of like that.
Yeah. So not to give too much away, but just kind of something you need to know going in. Every episode of Black Mirror is its own unique thing, its
Yep.
own plot, own
Standalone.
characters, standalone episodes. But
That's anthology, right?
yeah.
Right. Okay.
But a recurring theme throughout the episodes is the idea that in the future you'll be able to implant a chip or a computer into your brain
Okay.
and then have these like penny-sized little magnetic things where they're essentially games or universes or worlds you can escape into, and they just kind of magnetize to your temple and connect to the brain in your head, and it puts you in this world. So it's like VR but in 300 years. So you're like actually going into this world. For all intents and purposes, you're there. You have all your senses. Like it's its own thing.
It's Total Recall.
Hey
Hey, Carl, have you seen Total Recall?
I don't.
Damn
think I
it.
have.
Joke for no one. Total Recall kind of has a similar deal as the intro.
I
plot.
know a bit about the premise, but I haven't seen it.
It's similar. It's like you go on they're all workers and you go on a vacation, but it's like a brain chip kind of deal, and you get to have a separate life or whatever. But it's
Or maybe
all-
The Matrix.
it's all well, it's kind of that cyberpunky
Yeah.
kind of deal. Yeah. So okay.
So, yeah.
that scans.
But once we explained, you guys know what I'm talking about.
It's
so
just interesting
I
that it wasn't
stand by it.
even like an Aaron Paul thing. It was an Aaron Paul in a very specific interview on a British motoring show from.
That's the only
years
place
ago.
I've seen him.
It had a Top Gear tie-in.
Yeah, exactly.
up.
The only place.
I think he was there doing his. Wasn't he in that shitty Need for Speed movie or
Yes.
something?
Maybe.
I think that's what he was promoting.
Yes.
He got out of Breaking Bad and was like, "I'll torpedo my career." Like the Need for Speed movie.
Gosh.
Oh, Black Mirror.
It's
I'm
Black
nervous.
Mirror,
Carl, you
interesting.
better make us watch like Adventure Time or some shit after Black Mirror. Oh my
Yeah.
god. I'm kidding. You can pick whatever you want.
Carl's next.
No,
Wow.
you can be next. Wow.
We'll rock paper.
Jesus.
We'll rock paper scissors for it.
Alright.
Ooh,
30
ooh.
times.
I still got to figure out, because if Nick's getting an hour 14, then I get
You should,
more than
like-
one episode.
Yeah, I mean, we said you could have like 3 if they're 15 to
All
30
right.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like come on. I think if we want to keep runtime around 45
Yeah.
minutes to an hour,
Yeah.
my thing was an hour. So next thing is an hour. So especially if you have like a 3 episode arc or something.
Ooh, yeah.
Or who cares? We'll figure it out.
Yep.
So hey,
Yeah. Yep.
thanks for watching The Big Room. We're entering year 3, which is nuts.
Crazy.
And as Jeremy Clarkson would say, on that bombshell, it's time to end. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.